Hi, my name is Asher, and the next speaker is Oleg.
Hi. Hello, excellent introduction, thank you. My name is Oleg Abdrashitov. I head the blockchain practice at Altoros. Altoros is a consultancy, about 250 engineers. I also lead the requirements working group for the project, for Hyperledger project. We are a member of Hyperledger project, and I'm here to talk about Hyperledger. But before I introduce Hyperledger, let me try to answer the question, why do we need another blockchain platform? And why do we need permission blockchains? Most of the institutions that underpin our economy use trusted third parties. We use banks to transfer money from one business to another. We use central banks to connect banks. We use correspondent banks to make payments between banks in different countries. We use insurance companies that collect premiums and then pay out the insurance. We always use these institutions that are people in the middle, trusted third parties, intermediaries, and we've used them for thousands of years, from temples to churches to central banks to central servers and computers. What we can do now with blockchain technology is decentralize this mechanism. We now have an instrument of trust, a mechanism of trust that we can use. So, and we've seen an excellent application of this technology in payments, in Bitcoin network, in smart contracts, in Ethereum. But we can also use this technology to solve problems that we face every day when we build solutions for the enterprises. Whenever there's a trusted intermediary that is either costly or non-existent in many cases, and I'll talk about this a bit later, we can remove them by building a solution on blockchain technology. And those solutions will be run in a permissioned blockchain. So a permissioned blockchain is a network where we know all the participants. By knowing all the participants, we can greatly simplify the consensus mechanism. We no longer need to run proof of work or proof of stake or any other consensus, because we know who participates in our network. We can also build solutions that support confidentiality, because if we build for enterprises, we build for competing parties that want to keep their transactions confidential or private. So what we have right now is a slow transition from a centralized system where we have a trusted third party to the world where we have public blockchains where everybody can transact, where we have cryptocurrency. But we also have permission blockchains that are formed by a consortia of businesses around a particular use case. We're yet to see how the future economy will be built, but it is very likely that, at least for a foreseeable future, we will have permission blockchains around a particular use case. And I'm going to talk about a few use cases. So let me introduce Hyperledger. Hyperledger project is led by the Linux Foundation that helps govern it. Hyperledger project is a collaborative effort to advance blockchain technology for use in the enterprise, to help identify important features for cross-industry standard, and to provide a forum for technologists and for business leaders to share ideas, to share requirements for blockchain technology, and of course to share ideas how to implement it. And it's led by the leader in open source technology, Linux Foundation, and all of the software products within Hyperledger are open sourced. Hyperledger project is about 2 years, jumping ahead, 2 years old. It has about 200 members from many industries, from manufacturers like Airbus or Daimler or Hitachi, to technology companies like the technology companies that develop their own blockchain solutions like IBM, R3 or Digital Asset, and of course financial services companies like JP Morgan, or market utilities like DTCC, or exchange like CME Group. Also smaller organizations like Altoros. We're a software company that builds solutions for Fortune 500 companies, and we're also a member. And maybe your organization is also some of the members of Hyperledger. So within Hyperledger, there are several software products that aim to solve the same problem: how to build a permissioned blockchain for enterprise. All of them are open source, and they all are developed in parallel with each other. They're all independent. Some of them have been, they've been donated by other companies, but now all of them are open sourced, and they're all supported by open source developers. So let me list the 4 projects that aim to build permission blockchain platforms. Well, first there's Hyperledger Fabric, originally donated by IBM. It's a platform that lets you build permission blockchains with built-in confidential transactions, with modularity, and with a very novel consensus mechanism. Sawtooth Lake, or now it's called Hyperledger Sawtooth, has been donated by Intel, and it covers a different set of use cases. It is perhaps more scalable because it uses its own consensus mechanism called POET, Proof of Elapsed Time, which is based on Intel's new technology called SGX that lets you run smart contracts or timers within a protected enclave in the processor. There's also Hyperledger Iroha, donated by a Japanese company, Soramitsu. That's meant to be an easy to deploy and easy to implement permission blockchain. And there's also Hyperledger Borrow. Hyperledger Borrow is also a permission blockchain based on the implementation of Ethereum's JVM. So at Altoros, we build solutions for enterprises, and we use Hyperledger Fabric 1.0. So let me just touch on a few capabilities of Fabric. Fabric 1.0 is, has a very new architecture that came out this summer, and it's quite an advancement compared to a traditional classic blockchain where all the nodes have equal stake and run the same smart contract. So Hyperledger Fabric gives you, since it's a permission blockchain, tools for identity management to run your consortium. It supports confidential transactions by use of channels. It also scales very well because it processes your data very efficiently by specifying who will run your smart contract, which nodes will run your smart contract. And it has chain code functionality, which lets you write smart contracts in high-level language like Java or Go. So we use Hyperledger Fabric to solve particular use cases, mostly for financial services and for insurance companies. So let me just go through a few use cases that we've built solutions for, and see how permission blockchains solve the problems. This is a use case of a classic a trusted third party, which is a securities depository. It's an institution that keeps records of who owns what securities. Now, like I said, we can remove this trusted third party, and this is the project that we just finished with National Settlement Depository of Russia, where we built a smart contract that connected issuers of commercial paper with investors. So just last week, there was a first transaction in the amount of $10 million where a telecom company, Megaphone, issued commercial paper and transferred ownership of those securities by the help of a smart contract built on Hyperledger Fabric. So here's the case where a trusted intermediary now builds a solution on permission blockchain and wants to step away from the job of reconciling records or matching instructions of issuers and investors. Another case that we built for is an insurance company, Allianz, which in a consortium with other insurance companies such as Zurich and Swiss Re, we built a reinsurance contract for them. This is the case where a trusted intermediary may not exist. Those companies sell and resell risk and redistribute risk among each other, and there's really no clearinghouse for them. So it is usually done, it's a very manual process right now. There's a lot of reconciliation errors, and there's usually a leader that starts it, but there's no intermediary that they use. So again, this is the case where intermediary does not exist, and we can build a solution on a permission blockchain where we know the participants. There were a handful of organizations in this case, and we built the logic of reinsurance contract in smart contract on Hyperledger Fabric. And another case that we are working on is a decentralized clearinghouse to clear trades in OTC swaps and OTC derivatives. Again, this is the case where even though this market is huge, there are trillions of dollars in swaps, there are really just a few clearinghouses, and with the help of permission blockchain technology, we're able to run all the post-trade workflows that are commonly run by a clearinghouse by smart contract built on Hyperledger Fabric. So now we can settle derivatives trades, we can run post-trade workflows such as we can match trades, we can run daily collateral management, and so on. So those are just a few use cases where you can see that the permission blockchain can solve problems of enterprises, and that's what Hyperledger project is aimed to solve. So if you're business leaders, I encourage you to check out Hyperledger, see if you want to become a member, or if you're already a member, then just follow the progress of Hyperledger. If you're a developer, then clone the repository, see what you can build with Hyperledger. There are plenty of documentation. And again, the Hyperledger project is a wide forum for technologists and for business leaders to build the new economy with the help of permission blockchains. Thank you.